know who I am, Janice Williamson, Tea Party Patriot, and I think you really have your thinking cap on when it comes to the economy. I believe you love your country, and I voted for you, my daughter voted for you, but why did you vote to extend the 3 provisions of the Patriot Act until December? It's a direct violation of the 4th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. Our founding fathers didn't say, well, in the year 2011, you're going to have to fight the terrorists, and we'll just forget about the 4th Amendment. We'll just tear it out of the Constitution. The Constitution is the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. But you're a good man, and I'm saying this to encourage you. They're trying to shred our Constitution and take away our liberties.
Thank you.
And I'll die before they take mine. I mean it. I'm serious.
Here is why I voted why I did to extend the Patriot Act for, I think it was 4 more years. At one point it was something like 3 to 6 months.
Well, the provisions
and they extended specific provisions, and I'm not sure I'll recall all 3 of them. One is the lone wolf provision, where you've got a single individual. The second one is the roving wiretap, and you're an attorney, okay? Let's say that this guy is believed to be a drug runner. No offense, I'm not saying you are. But we have a wiretap for his house and his home phone. He starts buying cell phones, and he buys them with minutes on them, just boom, 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 boom. With a roving wiretap, which has to be, all these things have to be approved by a judge. Number one, every single one, I understand that those judges are former federal judges in U.S. district courts by and large, or administrative judges, but they have judge experience, and there has to be the sufficient amount of evidence produced to justify these search warrants. But having said that,
it says without identifying the target.
Let me finish.
Well, it says without identifying the target. That's the Constitution says you have to specify.
I'm sorry.
It says particularly
okay,
describe
hold up.
That's why I would say that.
No. I have seen lots of interpretations of the Patriot Act. The bulk of them out there on the internet are wrong. Okay? It does not accurately describe, in my opinion, what's actually being done. And I'm also an attorney. I'm not going to say that I know that thing inside and out, because I don't. But I am going to cover my understanding of it based upon what I've seen. But on this roving wiretap thing, okay, what we're doing is we are getting a warrant that is pre-cleared by a judge, just as is required under the 4th Amendment for us American citizens, and now we do it on every communication device that he has so that we can get this guy. Now, I used the example of him being a drug runner. That's not really the problem. I'm going to finish with 2 other comments. The problem is this is a target for terrorists. Now, I'm on armed services, I'm on Homeland Security, and I can't disclose to you everything that I've heard in classified hearings, but folks, there are some mean people out there that want to kill a lot of Americans. They want to kill a lot of Americans with nuclear devices, whether it be a traditional nuclear bomb or a backpack bomb or a dirty bomb. They want to kill Americans with biological weapons. They want to kill Americans with gas weapons. Anything they can get their hands on, they want to use to kill Americans. And I'm having to balance the 3rd part of this bill, and that is, I have yet to have a single person, and I've had a lot of folks just like you come up to me and express this, because I don't like the Patriot Act, I don't like the approaching the 4th Amendment like it does, but I've yet to find a single person who is an American citizen, who has been hurt by the Patriot Act. No one has been able to show me a specific example so I can balance better this threat of mass numbers of Americans being killed versus the threat of the Patriot Act.
It's assaulted my liberties. It's hurt me.
How's it hurt you?
Here it says
do you have a roving wiretap on you?
Well, we don't know. The NSA can listen in if they want
Okay.
to. Without identifying the target. And the Constitution, the 4th Amendment says, and particularly describing the place to search and the purpose of things. These are direct violations of U.S. Constitution. Just tear up the Constitution, we're still free. We can still exercise our liberties, but we may not be free to exercise them without the Constitution. It's a guarantor of our liberties.
I appreciate your concerns. I've explained how I balanced it, and that's why I voted.
Well, I would vote against it.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, I'm Stephen Porcari. I retired to live here in Kilburn. My question to you, first of all, I call you Lone, not because I want these people to think that you and I know each other, because we don't. It's the first time I met you. But I call you by your first name because I wanted to remind you that you work for us, you and the other congressman up there.
Absolutely.
Not the other way around. Okay. Now, my question or statement really is this. About 20% of the American public approves of the way Congress is doing its job. A lot of people don't, 80%. I'm one of those 80%.
So am I.
Yeah, I think that Congress, conservatives, I think represent a lot of the 80%. I think Congress has shown itself to be spineless in negotiating with the socialists that are ruining this country, and I want you guys to start doing something about it and stand up for America.
Okay, let me respond to that by asking specifically what you want the House to do.
Well, first of all, I don't like what's being done to this country in the way economically, the deficit, as you pointed out, and the general direction of the country.
Okay, what you want us to do with respect to the deficit?
I would like, first of all, to see you stand up and not negotiate with Obama.
Okay, what specifically do you want us
I
to do?
would like to see you tell them to go to hell.
I tried to do that in a more diplomatic way. No, when I say specifically, I'm talking about what would you like the budget to be? That's what I mean by specifics, and what would you like cut?
The lady has a copy of the Constitution, it says the United States government is supposed to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. That is to say, I'm a retired military officer myself, I'm Marine Corps. That is to say that the purpose of the United States government is to look out for the welfare of the American citizens. That is to say the border at Mexico and Europe and Asia and the other continents that want to do us harm.
So you want to pull us back?
No, I don't want to, what I'm
I
saying
mean, that would
is
save
we're
120
doing-
to $200 billion.
we're doing far too much. There's nothing in that Constitution that says that we need to be involved in health care or Medicaid or Medicare or...
Okay, well, what is it that you want the House
I
to do
want the
that's not
government
doing?
shrunk.
Yeah, but what specifically is it you want the House to do that's not doing?
Constitution.
Well, I do realize.
I mean, I
I
understand the
realize
general.
that we have a ways to go. But what I'm saying is that the 20% of the people that disapprove, that approve, of the Congress, and the 80% that disapprove, of the 80%, a lot of them are people that support you. Okay?
Some of the 80% doesn't because they think we're too conservative in
And what
Washington.
I'm saying is that the congressmen that we sent to Washington are now negotiating with the enemy, and that's got to stop. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. They're negotiating on the debt ceiling. If you were king for a day and you could resolve the debt ceiling issue, what would you do?
Quit spending.
Good, that's it.
Okay.
Good spending.
So you would
What part
cut
of no,
42
don't they understand?
You
That's
would
what I'm
cut
trying to say.
42% of the budget between now and August 2nd. What 42% would you want cut?
Everything but the military is up for grabs, as far as I'm concerned.
So you would cut Social Security 50%, Medicare 50%, Medicaid 50%,
Entitlements these are progressive programs. They need to cut.
FBI, CIA
Progressive
50%.
programs. They need to
How about my veterans
Cut
pension?
out the foreign aid.
The Constitution lists 17 things the federal government's supposed to do, and they're doing.
I appreciate your insight. Let me give you an idea of the way the United States Congress on the House side is broken down, in my opinion. You've got basically 4 or 5 groups. You've got over here, on my left, Nancy Pelosi and her folks in the Democratic Party, okay? To her right, you've got Steny Hoyer and another group of Democrats. Then you've got the House leadership and some Republicans. Then you've got over here to their right, a lot of freshmen who are more conservative than this group. I'd call them moderate to conservative, and we're definitely conservative. And then you've got a group over here that just wants to get reelected. Okay, you can float them all over, just whatever it is that'll help them get reelected. Those are the basic 5 groups. Let me give you an idea as to how radical left the Nancy Pelosi wing of the Democratic Party is. And that's the majority wing of the Democratic Party because they elected her collectively, the 2 groups put together, as their minority leader right now and Speaker of the House previously. And I'm going to use one example of a Texas congresswoman that you may have heard of. She's somewhat typical of the Nancy Pelosi wing. It's Sheila Jackson Lee. Some of y'all may grimace, okay? And I'm going to just mention two experiences I've had with Sheila Jackson Lee. We're debating the repeal of Obamacare. The House passes the repeal of Obamacare. Of course, it goes into that great pit called the Senate. It'll never go anywhere since, okay? As we're debating the repeal of Obamacare, she gets up to the microphone. She represents 680,000 people in Texas, more or less. That's the average district. And she states to us Republicans that it doesn't make any difference if we repeal Obamacare with this bill or not, because the 5th and 14th Amendments to the United States Constitution guarantee everybody in America free health care. Okay? That's what we're dealing with up there. Now, we had a Homeland Security meeting a couple weeks ago, on the radicalization of Islam, where people who are Christian or not religious, for whatever reason, they're becoming Muslim in America and they're becoming radicalized, i.e. violent. It might be Fort Hood incident, it might be Arkansas, where the recruiter and another, a military recruiter and another, one is killed and one is injured. It might be Virginia and Maryland with the snipers right after 9/11. Nonetheless, we've got this radicalization element in Islam, in America, that is increasing homeland-grown terrorists. And during that Homeland Security hearing on the radicalization of Islam, she grabs the microphone and she starts talking about how this hearing really should be focusing also on the radicalization of Christians and the threat they are to the United States of America. Okay? Now, that gives you an idea of what we're dealing with way over here. Now I'm going to focus on the Republican Party for a second. We had a vote that I thought was, I'm going to give you two votes that were rather indicative of where we are and what I'm having to work with the United States Congress. And I assure you they're far to the left of you, the majority, okay? We have the Paul Ryan budget, which cuts $80–90 billion in FY12. It eventually balances the federal budget in about roughly 25 or 26 years, if all the assumptions hold true. The Republican Study Committee, i.e. the more conservative part, we propose a budget that cuts $300 billion in FY12. Okay? That means we're solving 20% of the deficit problem in spending cuts. More if the economy grows and additional revenue comes in. We lost that vote amongst Republicans 120 to 119. Now, all the Democrats who participated voted for the Paul Ryan budget because it was not as significant spending cuts as what the Republican Study Committee, the conservative group of congressmen, had proposed. Most of the Democrats stayed out. But nonetheless, even amongst Republicans, roughly 80 billion in cuts versus roughly 300 billion in cuts, we lose that vote 120 to 119. Now, another example of the whole picture. One of the most favored groups in the United States Congress is veterans. Okay, so something associated with veterans scares the willies out of a lot of Congress. And so there was this VetStar program that was going to be created. A new program, even though we have a $1.5 more or less trillion deficit. It's not a big program. What it would do is you would create a new bureaucracy. That new bureaucracy would go around the country and then try to identify businesses that were hiring veterans. And then give them plaques or certificates that they could hang on their walls, okay, recognizing them for hiring veterans. We don't have the money for that. And it doesn't directly help any veterans. I just assume that money, not a lot, $500,000, was kept in the Treasury or else used for veterans benefits at some of our VA homes or something where it's direct benefit to our veterans who have served us so well. We only had about 10 to 15 people in the United States House vote no on the creation of a new bureaucracy, small at first, expected to grow in the future, and save us that money, or use that money for direct help for our veterans. 10 to 15. Okay? That's all we had voting no. That's an example of what we're facing in the United States Congress. Now, in fairness to the United States Congress, I'm going to say that they very accurately reflect the American public. And the reason I know that is because the American public elected them. That, you know, if you're familiar with what a republic is, by definition, the government reflects the will of the people because the will of the people put them there. Now, you know, there'll be collective will. Some people will really not like what the government's doing because they're too liberal, or some people say they're too conservative, or some people, you know, whatever the issues may be. But Congress reflects the public, and what we have to do is help the public better understand what works and what doesn't.